Okay, so the following interview is with the parts department, and I just went over and asked them about the top 5 accessories that they really think that people should get when they first, get an RV. So this interview gives you what those top 5 are, and at the very end gives you a perspective on one critical thing that you want to do when you get your RV and on an ongoing basis. So hope you enjoyed the interview, and if you do, be sure to give it a like.
My name's Brian. I'm the parts manager at Open Road in Smokey Point. The first things that come to mind are protecting your investment, right? And there's kind of 4 major things that I think are good to have regardless of how you're using your camper. First one's going to be slide toppers. I think your slide outs are always going to be the weakest point in terms of external forces, right? Wear and tear from weather, rain, debris, sunlight. So having slide toppers is, a slide topper is basically just an awning that rolls in and out with your slides automatically. You don't have to do anything. They're just there over the top of the slide roofs, and they protect those weak points from external forces, protect them from the elements.
So usually you have it so your slide goes in and out and debris can get in that channel.
Yeah, without
rain and all that kind of stuff, and so the slide topper just goes over that area.
Exactly. Slide topper is just covering up that slide roof so that all the debris just goes straight off of the slide onto the ground and doesn't collect on top of the slide roof where it can, hold moisture and cause damage over time.
Have you noticed when RVs come in the difference between an RV that's had a slide topper versus one that hasn't? What do you notice?
It's night and day. So, RVs that come in that have never had slide toppers, the seals that go around that seam where the slide out meets the body of the RV, those break down over time. And if you've never had slide toppers installed, we just see that those seals get chewed up. They have holes in them. There are tears. There's usually water damage because water intrusion has, water's gotten past those seals and just wreaked havoc on the inside.
So it's generally cheaper, less expensive, both from maintaining your investment, but also the seal itself. If you have to replace that seal more often, you're actually spending more money.
Oh, definitely, and it's not.
Getting a slide topper.
Yeah, definitely, and it's not just the seal too, because it requires a lot of labor to get in there, take the old seal out, put new ones in. So you end up spending not just the cost of the part itself, but all this labor time, hours of labor to replace those seals, and there's also the potential that, in the process of replacing those seals, other things get damaged in the process.
So the slide topper is a big one, really common for people to definitely get that. What's the next one?
Vent covers. Vent
Okay.
covers.
So
and
what
that's,
kind of vent? You have a vent cover we can
I
see
do.
that,
We can go check one out.
see if we look at.
So this is a vent cover. It's basically just a translucent plastic dome that goes over your vents in the roof, and it allows you to open your vents no matter what the weather's doing outside so that you can always have fresh air circulating through your RV. Think about it like a swamp, water that sits still, stagnant water, gets murky, it gets dirty, it grows bacteria, it grows algae. Air is no different. It does the same thing. If you're not constantly moving fresh air through your coach, you're creating a swamp on the inside. And that's where mold comes from. That's where, diseases, sickness. It's really a health thing, and it's also just about preserving the interior finishes because, again, moisture is your worst enemy with RVs, so a constant flow of fresh air helps protect you against water damage.
Nice. So basically, without having this cover on your air vent, you're going to get rain in there, and that's really what that's doing. But how long do you recommend having the fan running? Like all the time?
I would leave a vent cracked with the fan running to get some air circulation all the time. I would never want air to stagnate on the inside.
Yep.
It's really it's partially just a comfort thing, but it's also kind of a health thing. I think people don't realize often, especially people who have never lived in an RV, who have never gone camping for extended periods of time, people don't always realize how much moisture we produce when we're cooking and when we're breathing, just moving around. We're constantly giving off water, and all of that water has to go somewhere, and if it doesn't escape the RV, then it's just collecting on the surfaces as condensation and humidity, and that's the perfect environment for mold to grow.
Max air cover is one you recommend having on top of there. You got various sizes depending on, but usually it's pretty standard size, or?
There's really two sizes. There's the smaller size for the standard 14 by 14 vents that don't have a powered fan. And then this is the larger size for your vents that have a powered fan with a 12-inch blade, like the Max Air fan or the Fantastic Vent fan.
Okay. What's the next one you recommend?
Water pressure regulator.
Okay.
So this is like the most basic water pressure regulator. If you connect your coach to a water supply that has a very, very high pressure, it's easy to damage your plumbing. And your water pump is susceptible, all of your plumbing lines, the water fixtures themselves, your water heater, you have all kinds of sensitive components in there, and they're really only designed to handle 50 to 60 psi. And when you start getting above that, so city water supplies can be much higher than 80 psi. They can be all the way up to 140 psi. And
140?
yeah, and so that's the kind of pressure that can burst your plumbing lines. It can damage your water pump, your water heater. All of these things are costly to replace, and you just don't want to have to worry about that. So having a water pressure regulator at the inlet to your water supply is just peace of mind that no matter what pressure is going into the coach, all of your stuff is safe.
Now, are all the water pressure regulators the same? You just get one, or is there a difference between them?
So these are all not adjustable. These are all going to regulate your pressure down to 50 to 55 psi. The choice between the different ones really just comes down to whether it has a 90 degree in it. This one is going to be more friendly to your hoses because gravity, is going to pull your hose down. Your hose connects to the side of your coach like this, and so your hose connects to the side of your coach like this, and then this is going to just allow gravity to pull your hose down.
So you're preventing the pressure, because usually you have downward pressure on this point of contact, which can actually malfunction where you screw into. And by having the L, you're taking that pressure off that and making it last longer.
It's really just about protecting your hose from developing a kink, because many of those drinking water hoses, once they develop a kink, it stays there, and that's actually reducing your water pressure and making all of your fixtures flow more poorly. And like for example, if you have a tankless water heater, those are based on flow. If you have a kink in your hose, it can trick your water heater into thinking that you're not using enough water, and you could think, oh, my water heater's broken. Really, it's just your hose is kinked and you don't have the right flow. So.
Okay, cool. And so these all are gonna make it so you have 50. You want 50 psi? Or
between 50 and 55 psi
between 50 and 55
is kind of the sweet spot.
If you're screwing into something that has less than that, and you use your regulator, are you gonna run into problems?
No, the regulator is not going to reduce your water pressure. It's not like you're going to lose pressure if you have a regulator. It's just to protect you in the event of too much pressure. Okay. Yeah, and then if you don't have enough pressure, you can turn your water pump on, and that's going to pressurize the system and give you that extra boost.
Okay, nice. Yeah. That's a nice little trick, right? Okay, cool. So that's a good one to have, and probably a filter along with that. But yeah, that's pressure regulator. Got that. Okay, and then what's the next one?
So pressure regulator covers the water system. A surge protector is basically doing the same thing to protect your electrical system. Depending on the shore power grid that you're connected to, you never really know what's going on that grid, and lightning strikes, power surges, that sort of thing can totally fry all of your electronics. Not just the stuff that you have plugged in and that you're using, but also the components in your RV that make it work. your converter, which is responsible for charging your batteries. If you have any kind of solar setup, your inverter is susceptible. So a lot of expensive equipment in your RV, and you want to make sure you protect that with a good quality surge protector. And I like the Power Watchdogs because you can replace the element. Most of the cheaper surge protectors, once they get fried, you just have to replace the whole thing. These have a replaceable element, and they also do monitoring through Bluetooth, so that you can actually watch over time your energy consumption, and you can look at stats on how much power you're using and what the grid's doing and that sort of thing, and just have really good insights into your power usage.
What's the benefit of understanding that? Like, how do you
Well,
end up using the information?
If you're living in your coach, you can pay attention to your energy consumption. If you're trying to cut down on your energy bills, you can kind of notice patterns in your uses and you can notice patterns in your usage and adjust those over time so that you're being as efficient as possible with your power.
You could also prevent or know which appliances are drawing so much power, so if you keep tripping things, you can see which one is tripping the power. Right?
Exactly. And another thing that these are really useful for is figuring out a power budget. If you ever have plans to go off grid, have a solar-based setup, it's really important to know how much energy you actually need day to day. And the most accurate way to get that data is to actually measure it while you're using your power.
And so that Bluetooth and will tell you that it'll go by appliance it'll show, or just you'll plug something in and it'll just show you the power draw, and you can just plug in each appliance and then that's how you know how much it's drawing. Would that be a...
Or the most useful piece of information that it will give you is your total amp draw, the total current that you're consuming.
Gotcha.
At any given time.
Right.
So
it also maybe inform you of your phantom.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Help you track down reasons why your batteries might be dying faster than you think they should be, or you think everything's turned off, but really there's something drawing power. This can help you track it down.
Nice. That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What's next?
So from there, it kind of depends how you're using your coach. If you're living in it, there's kind of some different things that really help improve the quality of life. If you're camping in it, there's some different things. So for live-ins, I think a tankless water heater is probably going to be the top add-on or accessory. A lot of the destination trailers are coming with tankless water heaters now, and that is for a very good reason. It's because the tank-style water heaters that come in most coaches, even the larger ones, 12 gallons is not a whole lot of hot water, especially if you have a family. So a tankless water heater is going to allow you to be more efficient with propane because you're only heating the water that you're actually using. And if you need a lot of hot water, it's always going to be there. And then if you're using your RV for more traditional kind of just camping, I would recommend these days a solar generator. Technology has made it possible to have clean power that doesn't require fuel, that is very low maintenance, that lasts a long time, that's easy to recharge. And having a solar generator, which is basically like a giant lithium battery that comes with its own charging system, really opens up a lot of doors for you as far as where you can camp, where you can get shore power. You don't have to worry about always being at a campsite that has power hookups. You can be anywhere and use your RV all the way.
In terms of the tankless water heater, if your RV doesn't have a tankless water heater, can you swap that out, like in service? Like if you were to get an RV and I could come to you and say, hey, I really like this destination trailer, but I want that tankless water heater. Can somebody swap that out?
Oh yeah, it's a very common swap. We do it all the time. There's not much to it. The size of the water heater itself is pretty much standard across the board. The tankless water heaters that we install are sized to fit any hole, and then you basically just choose the door that corresponds to the size of the door that's on your coach. So other than that, it's only a couple water connections, a couple of wires. It's a very simple process.
Sweet.
Yeah.
In terms of inverters, do you have an inverter that you recommend? Like, do I want to have? can I get away with a 1,000-watt inverter, or do I need to go up to 1,800 watts or 3,000, or what? Is there an example inverter that you've got we can see? That
Well, so I just want to take a moment to say that this is kind of one of the primary benefits of having a surge protector that will show you stats on your power usage, is because when you're deciding on how big of an inverter you need, it really helps to have the data on how much power you're actually using.
Okay.
That can help you choose the right size inverter so that you're not overspending, but you're, on the other hand, you're not undersizing an inverter. And
let's say I like my Keurig. If you're off grid, a Keurig, spikes up a bit of power.
Right.
But I just love it. I can't do without. I'm not going to do my coffee any other way.
Yeah.
What inverter would I get for that situation?
You really can't go wrong with a 2,000 watt Go Power. It's pretty much going to have you covered.
But could I get away with 1,800? Because some of the GeoPros will come with 1,800. Is that sufficient enough? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you just
1,800 is just about in the same class as a 2,000 watt.
Okay.
I'm more thinking in terms of like 1,000 watt versus a 2,000 watt versus
Gotcha.
a 3,000 watt. They're kind of lumped together in 1,000 watt increments.
Is a 200 watt solar panel going to be enough, or am I going to need to go? I guess that gets into a lot of other variables.
It does.
So
That's a really complicated kind of whole scenario, like sizing solar systems. There's a lot to know. There's a lot of variables that go into it, and a lot of it really depends on you sitting down and doing the math and figuring out what you actually want to do, what you want to be able to do, like how long you need to sizing your battery bank is really about figuring out how much power you're using or want to use, and then sizing your solar panels is about making sure that you can feed that battery bank in the environment that you want to be in, because it changes depending on your location on the earth, the climate that you're in, and there's a lot that goes into it.
But the inverter itself will help with that spike of power usage and all that, right?
Well, the inverter is what enables you to use household appliances off of your house batteries.
Right.
So without it, you're not running a Keurig unless you're plugged into shore power or starting a generator.
Right. Okay. So you recommend this type of inverter?
Yeah. So this is the Go Power 2,000 watt. I think this is a really good balance of quality and cost. These are relatively low cost, but they're still a very well-known brand. They have a very good reputation for reliability. They come standard in a lot of RVs, which says a lot. So this is taking direct current from your batteries and it's turning it into alternating current, which is what is appearing in your household outlets. It's what runs all of your appliances in your house. So very, very cool to have if you're into any kind of off-grid camping.
Nice. And now can I just go and, I've got a couple batteries, I just get my inverter and I'm good to go?
Installing an inverter is kind of a process. A lot of RVs come prepped for inverter installs, which means that they have already run the cabling from the battery to where the inverter is going to be, and then they've already run cabling on the AC side from where the inverter is going to be to the power distribution panel or to outlets that have been predefined as inverter powered outlets. So it is a process to install an inverter, but it's not a huge undertaking. It takes about 4 hours on a prepped RV. If your RV hasn't been prepped, it's much more work. You're looking at 12 to 18 hours and considerable costs because of the cabling.
Right.
A common misconception is that if an RV has been solar prepped, that if you install an inverter, it automatically means that everything will be able to run off the inverter. That is not the case. When they say solar prepped, it usually means that only a couple outlets have been chosen to run off the inverter after it gets installed. And those are usually the outlets in the bedroom. They do this because of CPAPs, right? They do this because they want to prioritize things that help people stay alive. So it's sounds kind of harsh, but that's the reason.
No, I got you.
I recommend so strongly a solar generator, because a solar generator is a big lithium battery. You plug it into your coach just like shore power, just like you would a generator, right? But it's totally silent, no fuel.
Right.
and you can charge the whole thing up in 30 or 40 minutes.
So all that was really helpful in terms of someone coming in. And are there any other, overall recommendations you give them besides what you've already given?
I would say the biggest thing from the parts perspective is know your roof sealants, right? Understand what Dicor is, understand what self-leveling is versus non-leveling, and be familiar with what those are and the roles that they play, because it seems like roof issues are the most common cause of like major problems for people. So we just try to boost awareness of inspecting your roof sealant, knowing how to touch up your roof sealant, and staying on top of that, because overall it's going to give you a much more enjoyable experience no matter how you're using your coach.
Great. Well, thank you very much for showing us all that.
Yeah, no problem.